Hey y'all, it's your girl Toyia T, and we have a great show in store for you today. I will be remiss if I didn't at least start the show by giving a really a heartfelt sincerity for Shanquilla Robinson's family and making sure that we're keeping them in prayer because I can only imagine what she's feeling as a mom. Today's show is actually called Finding Family Ties. People that know me know that for 25 years I was a Robinson. So it really hits different, I think, when you think about how it could impact you as a person. Today I'm actually wearing Q and N wear, which is out of West Detroit. Evidently, you can find it at 313 Clothing Company in that local area of Detroit, Michigan. But I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I'll have our guests introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their stories. We have Dee Mitchell, we have Terry Bowles, and we have Sierra Earl here today to just tell us a little bit about their stories of finding family ties. So we'll let them do a brief introduction. We're going to go ahead and do ladies first, starting with Terry. If you can, just do a brief introduction to the audience, let them know who you are.
Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Terry Bowles Wilkinson Hill. I am a therapist and an author in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Thanks for coming. We love to have you tonight. Go ahead, Sierra.
Hi, I'm Sierra Earl. I work at the Kent County Public Library just across from Cincinnati in Covington. And I am a local history and genealogy librarian. So my job is really awesome and I get to help people find their family and research their family trees.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. And last but certainly not least, DeAndre.
Hello,
Or D
everyone.
Mitchell, I'm sorry.
I'm DeAndre Mitchell, but everybody calls me D. I am a strategic sourcing and supplier diversity professional. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 25 years, working to help minority and women-owned businesses get opportunities with larger major corporations. I'm excited to participate, and I have I think, a pretty good surprise for the audience as we go through this tonight. So thank you.
Absolutely. We are so happy to have you. I'm going to jump right in with the questions. Obviously, this is a show about finding your family ties. And we want to learn a little bit more about the experiences of the folks that are on the show. So, what has been your experience with finding family ties? And I want to start with one of the two stories. So, either Terry or Dee, I want you guys to be the start to answer that question.
Go ahead, Terry. I'll let you go first.
So my experience has been a complete roller coaster. So I was not looking for anything. So everything was a big surprise for me. I just did Ancestry. I did Ancestry, .com. I just wanted to find out what I was made of, what my genealogy was. I've been told things, and who I thought was my father, I really wasn't getting information from there. My mother's mother, used to say we had Indian and all of this stuff. So I just wanted to know. And surprise, surprise, I found out that the man that I thought was my father was not my father. And so it has been a very interesting year and a half, to say the least.
And so what tipped you off?
So in the DNA match section, it has, it matches you from the closest relative to like your eighth cousin. And it was my grandmother, this person I don't know, and then my mom's siblings and my cousins on my mom's side.
Okay.
And so I was just like, I recognized the name from my neighborhood. That family lives in my neighborhood. So, I recognized the name. I called my mom, like, guess who I'm related to? And she was like, what? And, I just when I play everything back, I'm like, my mother was shocked. So yeah, that's how. And then I kept, trying to type in, Bowles, and, nobody was popping up. And my cousin that I knew took it was not on my DNA match list.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was up literally all night talking to my mom's sister, like, what is going on? I didn't accuse people of cheating and all. I mean, it was crazy. I was up to like 2 or 3 in the morning trying to
Do
figure
you
it out.
think your mom knew?
So what happened was my mother, my biological father, my assumed father, they were 19, 21. My mother was on the downside with who she thought was my father. Biological father came in, went back with, and that's when she found out she was pregnant, when she was with my assumed father, when she got back with him. So,
Gotcha. Okay. We're going to get a little deeper into that. We'll ask a few more questions here in a little bit. Dee, do you want to answer the question around what was your experience like?
Yeah, so similar to Terry, it was a very unusual situation for me, in that I was adopted at a young age. I guess I was in foster care from about 5 years old to 14, and I was adopted by my foster mother, who actually knew my real mother. So I had ties. I knew who my real mother was, but she was also an orphan and didn't know who her parents were. So, long story short, I grew up in a wonderful home with my adopted mom and my sister. She was a great mother, did a great job taking care of us, and her family became my family. So, to this day, they're all my aunts, uncles, cousins, all that stuff. So, grew up, like I said, and after that situation, I mean, things got pretty normalized for me, and I went ahead and lived my life, and I got married to my wife. And I guess about 3 years ago, she bought me a DNA test for Christmas, one of the ancestry.coms. And I hadn't thought much about, that at all because, I knew I was adopted, but I knew who my real mother was. She told me who I thought my father was. So I knew him. So I had some siblings that I thought were, my siblings through my father's side as well. And so I kind of felt like I knew who was who, and it didn't really, bother me too much. But I did take the DNA test because I wanted to see my mother's side. Like, since she didn't know anybody, I wanted to see, who her family was and see if I could, find any links there. So I took it and didn't even think anything about it. I sent it off and didn't give it another thought. And it just so happens that it came in on a Saturday. And I had actually talked to someone on Friday who who showed up on my DNA test. I was talking to this person on Friday about business because we were trying to expand our business with the company that she was working for at the time, and she showed up, which is really strange, as the highest person on my test as far as the centimorgans. We had the highest number of matching centimorgans. So I thought to myself, this is really strange because I'd met her a couple of times, had done some business and which was trying to expand the business. So I reached out to her that Friday and she was busy, didn't answer the call. And I was actually calling her about business because I didn't get the DNA test until Saturday. So Saturday came, I saw the DNA test, realized I just called her Friday. I was like, man, I need to call her and ask some questions. So I called Saturday, but in the meantime, she didn't answer. So in the meantime, I started doing all my research and calling who I thought was my family and all of this stuff. And it was a connection because they were from the same area. They were from the same location. So I talked to who I thought was my brother and asked him about her. And he said, yeah, I knew her. We grew up, a couple of units away from each other and all of this. I'm like, wow, this is really crazy. So then I went into I went into genealogy mode. So I started doing all the research on what those matching centimorgans could mean. So I started doing kind of the addition by subtraction. So I'm looking, saying, okay, it can't be this, it can't be that, it can't be this, it can't be that. And it came down that it could only be one thing, and that was a half sibling. So I'm like, wow, this is really, really strange. So I finally called again and left that message. But before I was calling, I think she just thought I was a crazy business guy trying to, expand the business and call her on the weekend and get some business. She's like, I don't work on the weekends. Leave me alone. I'll talk to you Monday, right? So I left a message. Hey, I really need to talk to you. It's an emergency. There's some weird stuff going on, and I need to talk to you about it. So, and I left a message. I said, I
No,
think
you
we might.
actually said,
I think we might be
It's an
related.
emergency.
Yeah.
I, I need you to help me figure out this mystery on Ancestry.com.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was, yeah.
Like, this
And the
is
reason
good
that
news.
she knows so well is because she happened to be the person. So it was Toya that showed up at the highest level on my Cinnamon organs. So
Oh,
so we started,
Yes.
I left her a message, said, hey, and I sent that message. So she started doing her research on her end, and I was doing my research on my end, and then we finally connected. I think it was the next day on Sunday, I believe. Right,
no,
Toya?
it's Monday because I never called you back until Monday because I was like, dude, I don't work on the weekend.
Right, right. So we finally connected and started talking and really, found out what was what. But we both were somewhat skeptical. So behind the scenes, we were, doing all of our own due diligence and research and trying to figure things out, and finally had to come to the realization that, hey, this might be a reality, and determined that it indeed was. And it's been somewhat of an interesting dynamic since that time. So I'll stop because I've taken a lot of time, but I'll
Yeah.
go into more
Well,
detail on it. But
it's
it's really
funny
interesting.
because I have a really big family. So people that know me, like my dad had it was 12 of them. So there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of grandkids, there's just a lot of us. And so initially, when he gives me the information about the CCMs, anybody that knows Ancestry.com, they have the CCMs and they tell you like how many CCMs you have in common. Well, that Friday when he called me, I was talking to my first cousin who I'm in 1,100 CCMs in common with. And she was one of my business partners when I had Charm. So a lot of people know her and connect us together. She's my first cousin, grew up together like one of my first friends, right? And so it was funny because I was on the phone with her when he called, and I was like, this dude is trying to get more business. And she was like, shut up, girl. Call him back. He might be your brother. These were her exact words. And she's just saying it jokingly. And we get off the phone. I don't think anything else of it. Then on Monday, I talked to him and I find out he is my brother. It was like, what in the, no one would believe this if you made it up and like put it in a book, whatever. It was just a crazy happening.
Yeah.
So I had to have him on the show to tell the story. I want more people to go on Ancestry.com and get a sense of like, who are you? Where are your ancestors from? Who might you be connected to? Who might you even be working with? And you don't even know that they're related to you in some kind of way. So I don't want to stall the show because we only have like 15 minutes. So I want to know, what was the result of your experience? Like, how have people responded? And you can both answer that question, Terry and Dee. Just like, how have people responded to you after knowing? And what advice would you give to other people that might be considering checking into their family time?
I would say for me, it's been a whirlwind of emotions, mixed reactions. The negative ones, I'm not so sure about the reasons, other than, my therapist side moving in the manner of that when other people are not whole and when other people have things and skeletons and insecurities, then they project it onto other situations. I've heard a lot of, negative things, but on the flip side, there has been so many people that have reached out to me that have similar stories. My father is elated that I'm here. And I had to go back to therapy because it's such a challenge for me. My assumed father died in 2019. And, I was grieving him and I was grieving that relationship because that relationship wasn't the best. So, I'm working on not only grieving him, but grieving a relationship that really was not there. And so then 2 years later, I get these results and it's like, okay, I have another father. So then I'm grieving the relationship that I could have had
Right.
for 39 years. And so, I have anger towards him, but he didn't know why am I angry towards him. I angry towards my mother. I have all this confusion, and it's for me, it's been an emotional whirlwind. And I'm a writer. So I took some of those feelings and made it into a fiction account of me finding my father.
And what is it called, Terry?
The Eyes Never Lie. And it's called The Eyes Never Lie because my father saw me with my mother maybe when he looks at a picture, I was around 18 or 19. He says, "You look like that." So I had to have been around 18, 19 years old. And remember, I said they're from the neighborhood. Well, actually, we lived on the same street my whole life. I knew his sister. I've known his sister since I was a little girl. And I just always used to, think she was just so nice. She was so pretty, and she's my aunt. But my dad saw me with my mom, and he said, my mom introduced me or whatever, and she left. I left. And he said, he asked my mom, "Is that my daughter?" And my mom said, "No, that's what, my dad said." When my mother called him to tell me, that was one of the first things he said to her. "I asked you." So when I asked him, "Why did you ask her?" And he said, "Your eyes." So I titled the book, The Eyes Never Lie.
That's
Right.
awesome.
I'm still working my way through the book. I've started it, but I'm going to finish it soon. DeAndre, what has your experience been?
Similar, it's been an emotional roller coaster to a certain extent because at first, you start trying to ask all the why questions. So, like I said, I knew my birth mom. My adopted mom passed away in 2013, but I still had a slight relationship with my birth mom. So, of course, I call her and ask her some questions as to why she let me think all this time that this person was my dad and he wasn't, and she didn't really have good answers other than that was in 1970 and I'm 78 year or whatever years old now. I can't really tell you exactly how that happened, but it's a good thing that you that kind of situation. I'm like, wow. So I was a little angry with her because there were siblings on that side that I'd built relationships with. So there was some pain there because I had built some good relationships. But on the new family side, it was really welcoming. You can tell that they were really loving people, and they were a really close knit, strong family. And it was almost like they just welcomed me in, like, okay, we didn't know you'd been here this long, but now that we know you're one of us, just come right on in. Now that was the siblings side of things. Now there were some aunts and uncles that weren't quite as welcoming because they were unsure. They were like, hold on now, we would have known if he had a son. I mean, he always said he wanted a son, never had a son. He had all girls. So if he had a son, we'd have known about it. So they weren't sure, and I think it took some convincing from others, and even a couple others got on the DNA. One of the aunts did her DNA test, and she was my second highest next to Toyia. So she was like, "Wow, it's got to be true." So then I guess they started having their own internal conversations, and then they started welcoming me in. The other thing that was really interesting was never knowing my father. And getting secondhand uh, information about who he was, how he was, what type of man he was, and things like that. That was really interesting because it seems that we had a lot in common as far as being entrepreneurial, being kind of having that kind of hustle mentality. Get up and get it done. We both went to the military, both ex-football players. So there was just so much in common. And then as I started to meet family members, they would say, "Man, you look just like him," or "You sound just like him," and things like that. So it was really like you said, Terry, it was really emotional as far as just really trying to understand the dynamics of all of that, and then some sadness in the fact that I never really got a chance to meet him, and knowing that based on what they said about him, he would have definitely been in my life, which would have, obviously made for a different life, which obviously I wouldn't want to go back and change my life because I had a great life. But it would have been, nice to have a father in your life. And, I was an athlete and played college sports and things like that. So just having that father figure there, kind of, rooting you on and celebrating your successes and things like that, would have been nice. So I kind of missed that. And there was some sadness there, but then just the, the relationships with the sisters. I mean, it's just been fantastic. And just, the dynamics of everybody having different personalities and feeling different ways. So some are a lot more, I guess, interested in me and my family and who I am than others. And then just the whole dynamics of how any, sibling relationships would work when you have multiple siblings. Everybody has their own relationships and own dynamics in the relationships and things like that. So some of that's been fun and interesting, and it really has been a terrific experience when it comes to the siblings and just getting to know my sisters and their families. So it's been great.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I described it as you coming into high school, changing high school in the 12th grade. All these people have traveled, from ninth grade or, middle school with each other. And then you switch schools in the 12th grade and you trying to find your place to fit into the circle, but they've already been together. And so you're trying to fit in, and, you have some people like, we don't, no new friends. People that might want to, engage with you. Then you got other people that's kind of looking at you. And then you might have one that's like excited to have somebody new around. And so for me, it's just kind of, because I'm just like the kind of high energy, like I get excited about stuff like, oh my God, I got this, like, and that's not everybody. So, trying to balance and figure that. And then for me, my mother's mother died 4 days after I found out. And my grandmother was like my best friend. And so all of that happened. And then my mother's sister died 2 months later. All of this happened. Is like, I'm trying to figure out all of these things and, where I fit in. And I think in the beginning, I would have, when I go back and look at some things, I would have done it different, but who has a manual for this?
Right. On that note, I do want to go to Sierra Earl, who should have a little bit of a manual. She's our genealogist from the Kenton County Library. What would you say to someone who might be looking for a lost relative or just as curious about their background? Can you give us a few tidbits? I know we've had you just kind of taking it all in so far.
So if you haven't taken a DNA test, I always tell people to start like writing down what they know and talking to people. And that doesn't mean just like family. That means like your neighbors and your friends, trying to start putting together those pieces of your family tree puzzle. And if you are interested in taking a DNA test, that is awesome. I always tell people to go ahead and do that because you never know, like in this case, what surprises you're going to find. Some people, they find that they have new family or, family they didn't know about. And that's really great. And for some people, it kind of just like, it helps them get further back in their generations as far as like when they're doing research and, some people find surnames that are pretty far back. But if you are interested in doing genealogy, the library can help you. We have a department here at Covington. You can come in and you can ask us questions. We can help you get started because some people find it really intimidating at first. And there's a lot of science involved now, like especially with DNA tests and the centimorgans and like those are those little chains of DNA and they tell you how related you are to someone else. And we can help you kind of explain that and find out more about what that means. And then we can also get you on websites like Ancestry and Family Search, and we can help you plug in your family names and start working your tree and building it. And you can work on any tree. Like people always say, like, does it have to be your biological family? And, I'm like, no, but it's whatever family you want. So like if your step parent or your guardian is your family, that's what we're going to research today. So it doesn't have to just be like your biological parent. You can do people, if you're adopted, we can help you with that too. We can help you build trees for those families. So just coming in and talking with us, and we're really excited to help people with their genealogy, because you never know what, like, these are great stories that you guys have shared today. And I think that's always important, is that family is a story, and everybody has a family history and a story. And that's what we kind of help you find.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you're able to be a resource to some of those folks if they want to look for lost relatives or find out about relatives that they already know. I want to give you guys a chance to have any final words before we do contact. So I'm going to have you just do your final words and then do your contact, so that way we make it in the 3 minutes. Everybody has 1 minute.
Okay. It's been the most exciting and whirlwind thing I have ever experienced. I'm so glad and so grateful that God saw fit for this time to even just reveal, my father to me. And it's just going to be a process. It's a process. I'm still in counseling. We do family counseling at times. So because I need help to get through this. So, and I plan to be a source for people like us that don't have a space to talk about it, because, people are like, well, you should be happy. You found him now. And it's just not that simple. And so I plan to create a platform next year for, people that have found lost relatives, or people didn't even know they had lost relatives like me, to be able to express and vent and get suggestions on how to deal with it.
Right.
Yeah, my biggest thing would be to make sure that you include your family, as far as your, if you have wife, kids, other brothers, or, other relatives that you feel like need to be involved in this discovery. Make sure you include them and explain things to them, because I know that my kids, who are all teenagers at the time, it's something that they have to experience with you, and your wife. And so making sure that, I had conversations with my wife and my kids, and trying to explain, things and make sure that they understood it. I think that was extremely important. And then I would also say, just, be open, transparent, honest, and take it slow, because I think sometimes, as Terry mentioned, everybody's not at the same level when it comes to how they feel about this new relative, or this new person that's could possibly be in their life. So, everybody has their own pace. So just make sure that you're respectful of everybody's pace and personal space.
Absolutely. Very good point. Sierra, any last words, any way to contact you if they do want to do some research?
Yeah. You can email us at history@kentonlibrary.org, and you can get a hold of us there. I check that email, and we offer free genealogy assistance. So whether you're starting or whether you're trying to make sense of your ancestry DNA test, we here at the library are ready to help you. And we find this really exciting, and it'll be a fun journey to go on with you. So contact us at the library. We're here to help.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys joining us for tonight's show. And if you are interested in the book, Terry's book is The Eyes Never Lie. I believe it's on Amazon, and it's also on their website, bovisionsconsulting.com. Any last words you have, Dean, before we close out?
No, I just appreciate you having me this evening to tell my story. And it's a lot longer story, but I hopefully was able to condense it enough where everybody could at least understand. So
yes, and check out his consulting, ESG Consulting. All those folks looking for recruiting needs, get in contact with him. I'm sure he can help you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys, and thanks again for having the guts to come and tell your story tonight.
We're
going to go ahead and thank our sponsors.
Today's episode of The Plug is sponsored by the following companies. At the gold level, Black & Bossy. Black & Bossy is honored to be their customers' choice to help enhance their natural beauty. After nearly 40 years in business, they have a track record of providing a product that customers absolutely love. They are proud to be the shine to their crown. Please visit them at www.blackandbossy.com and follow them on Instagram at Black and Bossy 2.0 and Facebook Black and Bossy to find your favorite Black and Bossy products. At the silver level, World Apparel Co. World Apparel Co. is a nonprofit organization using culture and fashion to help spread awareness for the many social issues that plague the world. They utilize their platform and donations to help provide solutions and resources to organizations that deal directly with the affected communities. You can support World Apparel Co. by visiting worldapparelco.com and following them on social media at World Apparel Co. on Twitter and Instagram. And last but certainly not least, at the bronze level, Donnie Young, an ADT authorized provider, supplying you with all of your security needs for your home, business, and beyond. For more details, call Donnie at 513-623-0679. The Plug thanks all of our sponsors for helping us keep you connected.